ready for 2022 book battle? Because we're ready for it. Let's start. Southern Storm versus The Graves of Fine and Private Place, which is a Flavia de Luce. Let's go Flavia. Flavia? I don't know. In Search of a Prince, which is on my favorite shelf, versus Mr. Limoncello and the Great Library Race. I really love Mr. Limoncello, but we're gonna go with In Search of a Prince. Conspiracy in Belgravia versus The Lamp. Conspiracy in Belgravia. The Deadly Curse of Toko Ray, which is the Cooper Kids book 6, and The Beautiful Ashes of Gomez Gomez. We're gonna go with Beautiful Ashes of Gomez Gomez. Bird and Squirrel on the Edge, and That Hideous Strength. Bird and Squirrel on the Edge. That Hideous Strength with C.S. Lewis, Out of a Silent Planet. I don't remember what this series is called, the trilogy, but that's a bit of a dry trilogy. Chasing Slow and A Study in Scarlet Women. A Study in Scarlet Women. Confessions, versus Amulet. Confessions. I quite liked that one. It's quite dark, but I liked it. Glittering Promises versus Librarian of Crooked Lane, which is a Glass and Steel book 1. Is it Glass and Steel book 1? I can't remember. You guys can see here. Glittering Promises. I like that trilogy quite a bit. It's on my favorite shelf. A Lifelong Love, which is Christian nonfiction, and Magician's Diary, which is Glass and Steel book 4. I really don't remember a lot of the Glass and Steel series. I think it was one of those series that started off good and then kind of went a little downhill from book 1. A Lifelong Love, I can't really remember that one either, but it is Christian nonfiction about marriage. So should we go A Lifelong Love? 12 Days at Bleakley Manor, which I really like, and The Convent Secret, which is Glass and Steel book 5. I did not care for that one. That's where I ended that series. So, and I really loved 12 Days at Bleakley Manor, so I'm gonna go with that one. Boo versus Animal Farm. Animal Farm, actually. Arm of the Sphinx on my favorite shelf, and Cress. Cress was the one of the Lunar Chronicles that I think I liked the least. And I love the Senlin Ascends series, so we're gonna go Arm of the Sphinx. Binti and Glamorous Illusions. Glamorous Illusions, part of that trilogy I was telling you about. Mr. Limoncello and the All-Star Breakout Game versus Long Lost. I did like Long Lost, but we're gonna go with Mr. Limoncello. Phantom Tollbooth, which I love, and Grave Consequences, which I love. Aww, Grave Consequences is the 3rd book. Well, it's one of the trilogy that I was telling you about earlier. And Phantom Tollbooth is a really silly nonsense middle grade, which I love. These are both on my favorite shelf. Super different. I'm gonna go with Phantom Tollbooth. The Golden Tresses of the Dead, which is another Flavia de Luce, and Illusion. Golden Tresses of the Dead. Soundtracks, which is Christian nonfiction. Was it Christian nonfiction? I wasn't sure if it was Christian necessarily, but and Dragon and the Stone. Healer's Apprentice and The Fugitive, which is the Kid Lawyer book 5. Healer's Apprentice. I did really like the Kid Lawyer series. Small Spaces, which was a spooky middle grade, and Breaker's Reef. Small Spaces. Silmarillion. J.R. Tolkien. I read this one with my friend Celestia. Oh no! Against Wishtress, which is Nadia Brandes. This is really tough for me. These are 2 of my favorite authors. I love both of these authors. Both of these books are not my favorite from them, but I did enjoy both of them. I probably enjoyed Wishtress more than the Silmarillion, but I can't not put Middle Earth. I can't pick something else over Middle Earth. I don't know how to do that. So I'm gonna have to go with Silmarillion. Oh, that hurts. The Birth Order book, which I love, and Hind's Feet on High Places, which I love. Oh man, Hind's Feet on High Places. Boy by Roald Dahl, and Body in the Library, which is Agatha Christie. We're gonna go with Body in the Library. Judge Tenderly of Me, which is a poetry collection, and A Time to Die, which is Nadine Brandes. Okay, well this time I'm gonna pick Nadine Brandes. Black Coffee, another Agatha Christie, versus Waterfall, which is Lisa T. Bergren. I don't remember what I thought of Black Coffee, and I enjoyed Waterfall enough, so we'll go with Waterfall. Bride Collector, Ted Dekker, versus Secret Keepers. I don't remember Secret Keepers. Bride Collector, I do remember, but it was like quite dark. I don't really want to put either of these up here, but I guess I'll go with Bride Collector. Delicates, which is a really beautifully illustrated graphic novel, and Gravity Falls. Gravity Falls for sure. I love Gravity Falls. Return of the King, which is, you know, my man Tolkien, and The Prince and the Blight, which is Dreamkeepers. Dreamkeepers? Yeah. Dragon Keeper? Dreamkeepers. I don't remember. What's it called? The Dreamkeeper Saga. I have book 3 up here. Prince and the Blight is book 2. Return of the King for sure. Don't Give the Enemy a Seat at Your Table, which is a great book. And 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Mind Games, Nancy Mel, versus Quiet Girl in a Noisy World. Mind Games. The Dead in Their Vaulted Arches, which is another Flavia de Luce, versus Dead End, which I think is also Nancy Mel. I liked both of these. I'm gonna go with Flavia de Luce. The Inn at Ocean's Edge, and Secret Garden. I loved The Secret Garden. Mr. Lemoncello's Library Olympics versus The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, Roald Dahl, which I did like, but we're giving it to Mr. Lemoncello. Boo Hoo and Otter Lagoon. Poison for Breakfast, which is, oh no, the other one wasn't Roald Dahl, it was Lemony Snicket. Poison for Breakfast is Lemony Snicket versus The Gifted by Terry Blackstock. I think I'm gonna go with Poison for Breakfast. I really like Lemony Snicket actually. Mother Tongue, which is Bill Bryson. And Once Upon a Tim. Oh, I love that one too, and I liked Mother Tongue. I guess I'll go with Once Upon a Tim. The Beautiful Pretender, which is Melanie Dickerson, and The Hobbit, Wardrobe, and the Great War. We're going with The Hobbit, Wardrobe, and the Great War. Death Comes to Pemberley versus Blackthorn Key. Death Comes to Pemberley. Orphan Song and Mapmaker's Apprentice, which is Glass and Steel Book 2. Mapmaker's Apprentice. Dust versus Ballad of Never After, Book 1. We'll go with Dust. We have The Second Diary of Hendrik Groen, 83 and a quarter years old. It's a long title. It's a good book. And Don't Look Now, that's a Daphne du Maurier, and also one that I enjoyed. So I will go with Don't Look Now. God Has a Name and Boo Hiss. God Has a Name. Speaking from Among the Bones. Is that another Flavia? And The Time Machine. Time Machine is H.G. Wells. Speaking from Among the Bones. You guys already can see the cover, but I'm gonna have to look it up. It is a Flavia de Luce. Okay, so we're gonna go with Flavia. Gallant, V. Schwab, and Out of the Silent Planet, which is the series I was telling you about earlier from C.S. Lewis, which was a bit dry, so we're gonna go with Gallant. My grandmother sends her regards and apologizes, and The Wonderland Trials. we'll go with My Grandmother Sends Her Regards and Apologizes. The Adventure of the Christmas Pudding and The Hod King. The Hod King, that's part of the Senlin Ascends. Scarlet, which is the Lunar Chronicles, and Veil of Winter, which is Melanie Dickerson. So, Melanie Dickerson. Lazy Genius Way, and Not So Uniform Life of Holly May. The Not So Uniform Life of Holly May, I think. Mystery of the Blue Train, and Deadfall. Deadfall. My Side of the Mountain, and Secret of the Desert Stone, which is book 5 in the Cooper Kids. So, My Side of the Mountain. No, let's go Secret of the Desert Stone. Clearly I feel kind of similar about these two. I'm gonna go Secret of the Desert Stone, actually. Sea Fairies and Mirror Mirror. Sea Fairies. Mirror Mirror was kind of dealt with some dark magic that I didn't like, so. Beasts and Beauty and The Westing Game. I also feel kind of similar about these two. We'll go Westing Game. Skyward by Brandon Sanderson and Trapped at the Bottom of the Sea, book 4 of the Cooper Kids. Skyward. Once Upon a Broken Heart, book 1, and Winter, which is from the Lunar Chronicles. Winter. Hermit Hill and Mr. Limoncello and the Titanium Ticket. I didn't care for that one. That was one of the newer releases, kind of like one of those. They wrote a series and then a few years later they tacked on some more books. That was this one, and I didn't like it. I think that's how it went. But I did like Hermit Hill. I love those graphic novels, actually. Fellowship of the Ring versus Authentically Izzy, Fellowship of the Ring. Oh, I thought Authentically Izzy would make it higher, but not against Tolkien. Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and Beneath the Forsaken City. Beneath the Forsaken City. Spice King and Partial Spice King. Redwoods and Wales versus The Pictures of Hollis Woods. Redwoods and Wales. River's Edge and The Birds, which is a Daphne du Maurier short story. River's Edge. Telltale Heart and Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians. Alcatraz. Lost in Darkness. Love that book. Versus The Tombs of Anak, which is Cooper Kids book 3, Lost in Darkness. The Clocks, Agatha Christie, versus The Emerald Gate, which is 5 Worlds book 5. 5 Worlds. The Apothecary's Poison, which is Glass and Steel book 3, and The Homework Machine. I thought The Homework Machine was cute, and I can't really remember The Apothecary's Poison. Though I did like that series, at least in the beginning. This is book 3. We'll go Apothecary's Poison. This poem is a weapon, a poetry collection, versus The Watchmaker's Daughter, Glass and Steel. This is another one where I thought this one was book 1 of Glass and Steel, but anyway, Watchmaker's Daughter. The Aquanaut, which is a fun graphic novel, and A Breaking Point. That one was a bit harder to get through, so we'll go with The Aquanaut. Stranger's Game and The Very, Very Far North. The Very, Very Far North was a fun nonsense middle grade. Door in the Dragon's Throat, Cooper Kids book 1 versus Nightfall. We're gonna go with Nightfall. Feelings, which is a graphic novel, kind of, yeah. And Villa in Sicily. Villa in Sicily. That one was interesting. The Way of Kings, Brandon Sanderson, and Lord of the Flies. I feel the same about both of these. They're different, obviously, but the amount that I liked them, I feel the same. One's a classic, and one's Brandon Sanderson, so there's a huge fandom for Brandon Sanderson. and they think he can basically do no wrong, but I don't feel that way. It is high fantasy, which I do like. I don't know how to pick this one. I feel the same about them. We'll go for The Way of Kings just for the Sanderson fans out there. Never After versus Warbreaker. Oh, another Brandon Sanderson, but this Brandon Sanderson I liked like more than the other one. El Defo, graphic novel versus Come Back to Me. Come Back to Me. Oathbound and The Lost Spells, which is a poetry collection. So Oathbound. Fantasy Pirates. None Like Him and Meet Me in the Margins. None Like Him. One by One and The Thursday Murder Club. One by One. Gilbert Morris. Without a Trace and Cinder. Part of Your World and Sea of Strangers. Part of Your World. The Yellow Wallpaper, which is another short story. And Senlin Ascends. Fox. And The Two Towers. Oh, this is Tolkien and Nadine Brandes again. Nadine Brandes, why is this happening? Her books should go to the end against Tolkien at the end, okay? Just so you guys know. Like, her books should be going a lot farther. But because they keep getting paired against Tolkien, I can't. My hands are tied. Two Towers. Mistletoe Countess and Creatures of Habit. Mistletoe Countess. Firestorm and We Have Always Lived in a Castle. We'll go with Firestorm. Blood Ransom and Black Prism. I don't really know, but we're gonna go with Blood Ransom. Conspiracy of Ravens and Perelandria. Prelandria? I don't know how to say that. Conspiracy of Ravens. Castaway in Cornwall and Orphan's Wish. The Last House on Needless Street and Piper's Pursuit. The Scandal and Find Your People. The Scandal. By the Pricking of My Thumbs versus Final Curtain. Save Me and All Is Calm, which is a 3-in-1. Save Me. Murder on the Links and The Moving Finger. Oh, Agatha Christie against Agatha Christie. I'm gonna have to actually go to Goodreads to see which one I rated higher. Turns out I quite enjoyed The Moving Finger, which is the one I was kind of leaning towards, so Moving Finger. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and N or M. Jonathan Strange. Fervent and The Sheep, the Rooster, and the Duck. Fervent. Deadly Devotion and Dreams of Savannah. Deadly Devotion. Mermaid in the Basement and Enchanted Forest. Mermaid in the Basement. The Last Sin Eater and A Throne for Sisters. Throne for Sisters, perhaps. Not sure about that. Tears of the Giraffe, not my favorite, and A Woman After God's Own Heart. Yes, we'll go with that one. I Survived the Shark Attacks of 1916 and Oxy, the Shark Attacks of 1916. So that concludes round 1. Round 2, anyone? Piper's Pursuit, Fellowship of the Ring. Bird and Squirrel, On the Edge, and Watchmaker's Daughter, which is Glass and Steel Book 1. I think I'm going to go with Glass and Steel Book 1. Mermaid in the Basement and The Graves of Fine and Private Place. Mermaid in the Basement. Once Upon a Tim and Mr. Limoncello's All-Star Breakout Game. Mr. Limoncello. I Survived the Shark Attacks of 1916 and Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Don't Look Now, and The Westing Game, Don't Look Now. Very, Very Far North, and Return of the King. Return of the King. They're so easy when it's, oh, I say that when it's a Tolkien duel, it's so easy, but we just learned in the last round, not so easy. Redwoods and Whales, Glittering Promises, Glittering Promises. Beneath the Forsaken City, and In Search of a Prince, In Search of a Prince. Mr. Limoncello's Library Olympics versus The Golden Tresses of the Dead by Flavia Deleuze. I'm gonna go with Mr. Limoncello. I really like those books. They're a lot of fun. Veil of Winter and Conspiracy of Ravens, Conspiracy of Ravens. Poison for Breakfast and Villa in Sicily, Poison for Breakfast. 5 Worlds, Book 5, and Part of Your World, 5 Worlds. Deadfall and Hind's Feet on High Places, Hind's Feet. A Woman After God's Own Heart and The Hod King. I'm gonna go with The Woman After God's Own Heart. Blood Ransom and Death Comes to Pemberley. I feel mediocre on both of these, so I'll just pick Blood Ransom. The Dead in Their Vaulted Arches, Flavia Deleuze, and Mind Games, Nancy Mel. Mind Games, Fervent, and Cinder. No, I don't want to pick between these two. I really like both of these actually, and I resent the game for making me pick. So I don't stand by this choice, okay, for the record, but we're gonna go with Cinder. The Aquanaut and The Secret of the Desert Stone, Book 5. I liked this one from the Cooper Kids, so we're gonna go with Cooper Kids this time. The Silmarillion and Mapmaker's Apprentice, Silmarillion. Secret Garden and God Has a Name. Oh. I love both of these. God Has a Name. I read this one at the perfect time where God could speak to me through it in a really dark time. So it has a special spot in my heart for that reason. And The Secret Garden is something from my childhood. I never read the book as a child, but I watched the movie as a child and then only read it as an adult, and I really liked the book. But because of how God spoke to me, I'm going to go with God Has a Name. Animal Farm and Confessions. Also pretty good, but I'm going to go with Confessions on that one. Gallant and The Hobbit, The Wardrobe, and The Great War. We're going to go with Hobbit, Wardrobe, Great War. A Throne for Sisters and Spice King. Hermit Hill and Waterfall. Hermit Hill. Firestorm and Conspiracy in Belgravia. Conspiracy in Belgravia? A Study in Scarlet Women and Final Curtain. Speaking from Among the Bones, which is Flavia Deleuze, and Arm of the Sphinx. My Grandmother Sends Her Regards and Apologizes, and The Bride Collector, my grandmother. Mistletoe Countess and Glamorous Illusions. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell and Deadly Devotion. We'll go Deadly Devotion, I guess. Beautiful Ashes of Gomez and River's Edge. Gomez. Uniform Life of Holly May and The Scandal. I really like the Kid Lawyer series. Senlin Ascends and A Lifelong Love. Senlin Ascends. Alcatraz and the Evil Librarians and A Dragon and the Stone. Winter and a Warbreaker. Come Back to Me and Oathbound. Moving Finger and Dust. Moving Finger. Skyward and The Apothecary's Poison. Skyward. Two Towers and Body in the Library. Two Towers. A Time to Die and Lost in Darkness. One by One and Sea Fairies. One by one. Yep. Otter Lagoon and Nightfall. Otter Lagoon. Small Spaces and None Like Him. None Like Him. 12 Days at Bleakley Manor and Gravity Falls. Well, I really like both of these. I've had such an itch to watch Gravity Falls again. It's also like a little TV series. I do love Michelle Greep, almost everything she writes, and I love this book. But for the sake of my feelings at the moment, I'm gonna go with Gravity Falls. I don't think I would stand by that choice long term, but just for right now. Way of Kings and Healer's Apprentice. Healer's Apprentice. Save Me and Orphan's Wish. Orphan's Wish. And then the remaining one is Phantom Tollbooth. And that concludes round 2. Next round, A Conspiracy in Belgravia and Otter Lagoon. Otter Lagoon. I'm a sucker for those graphic novels. Beautiful Ashes of Gomez, Gomez, and the Spice King. Spice King. Hind's Feet on High Places and Mind Games. Hind's Feet. 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle and Watchmaker's Daughter. 7 Deaths. Arm of the Sphinx and Deadly Devotion. Arm of the Sphinx. Dragon in the Stone and Conspiracy of Ravens. Conspiracy of Ravens. Glamorous Illusions and Lost in Darkness. Lost in Darkness. Those are both of my favorite stuff. Hobbit, The Wardrobe and the Great War and the Scandal. Hobbit, Wardrobe, Great War. Gravity Falls and Oathbound. Gravity Falls. One by One and Moving Finger. Let's go Moving Finger. Fellowship of the Ring and Blood Ransom. Fellowship of the Ring, Confessions, and Cinder. Well, that's an unexpected pairing. I liked both of them quite a bit. I'm gonna go with Cinder. I'm feeling Cinder right now. Phantom Tollbooth and Send Ascends. Send Ascends. Orphan's Wish and what's this? Emerald Gate, which is 5 Worlds, Book 5. 5 Worlds. In Search of a Prince versus Return of the King. Return of the King. A Woman After God's Own Heart and The Two Towers. The Two Towers. Oh boy, we're getting rid of some really good ones. So like I'm a little worried to see, like obviously we know that Tolkien is gonna be on the top, but the ones that are gonna be next to it, I'm a little worried that they're gonna be a little bit more mediocre because of the way that the game is played out. Mr. Limoncello and the All-Star Breakout Game versus Healer's Apprentice. That's hard. Mr. Limoncello? That's weird. Poison for Breakfast and God Has a Name. God Has a Name. Final Curtain and Mermaid in the Basement. Mermaid in the Basement. Secret of the Desert Stone and Mr. Limoncello Library Olympics. Library Olympics. Warbreaker and Glittering Promises. Glittering Promises. Silmarillion and Hermit Hill. Silmarillion. None Like Him and Don't Look Now. None Like Him. Last 2 for this round. My Grandmother Sends Her Regards and Apologizes and Skyward. Skyward. I'm so surprised Skyward's making it so far. Next round. Arm of the Sphinx and Lost in Darkness. Oh, that's a pretty good duo. Duo. No, a duo. Lost in Darkness. None Like Him and Mr. Limoncello's Library Olympics. Library Olympics? Return of the King and Mr. Limoncello's All-Star Breakout Game. Return of the King. Moving Finger, Mermaid in the Basement. Mermaid in the Basement. Hobbit, Wardrobe and the Great War and the Spice King. Oh. These are both really good. Hobbit, the Wardrobe and the Great War is a nonfiction kind of talking about the friendship between C.S. Lewis and Tolkien during, not during, but leading up to the Great War and a little bit during. Super interesting. The Spice King is just a really good book. It's just really good fiction, historical, Christian. I said that weird, but you know. Which one would I reread? Both. Which one would I have on my favorite shelf? Both. The Hobbit Wardrobe and the Great War. Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle and Hind's Feet on High Places. Wow. Heavy hitters. Heavy hitters. I go with Seven Deaths. That's so sad. Fellowship of the Ring and Silmarillion. Oh, this does not happen very often where we've got Tolkien and Tolkien. So, Fellowship of the Ring, for sure. Silmarillion's quite dense. Cinder and Conspiracy of Ravens. Oh, I like both of these a lot. Conspiracy of Ravens. Two Towers and Glittering Promises. Two Towers. Skyward and Otter Lagoon. Otter Lagoon. Emerald Gate, Five Worlds Book 5, and Gravity Falls. Two graphic novels. That doesn't happen very often either. And also two that I really like. Gravity Falls. I tell you guys, I'm just in a Gravity Falls mood right now. God Has a Name and Sunlit Ascends. Sunlit Ascends. I feel like, is this the last round? Or is this second last round? Two Towers and Otter Lagoon. Two Towers. Hobbit Wardrobe, Great War, and Lost in Darkness. Lost in Darkness. Gravity Falls and Conspiracy of Ravens. Conspiracy of Ravens. Mr. Limoncello and the Library Olympics. And the Mermaid in the Basement. Mermaid in the Basement. Sunlit Ascends, Return of the King. Return of the King. And the last two, Fellowship of the Ring and Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Wow. I don't know if we've had a top final that didn't have Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, because it usually makes it to the top. But pitched against Fellowship of the Ring, Fellowship of the Ring. Okay, so what do we have? We've got, yeah, I have to do one more round. This will be quick. Conspiracy of Ravens versus Two Towers. Two Towers. Fellowship of the Ring and Mermaid in the Basement. Oh, that's not nice. That was both like the same series against Lord of the Rings. Fellowship of the Ring. Lost in Darkness versus Return of the King. Okay. Okay. Return of the King. So what we have here, people, is a rather humorous top three. Oh, this is funny. If one of these were pitched against each other, it would have been different, but we have Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. So all of the Lord of the Rings books, which is funny. So because of that, originally it was published as one book, so we could just say The Lord of the Rings, in which case the other top books would be Lost in Darkness, Conspiracy of Ravens, and Mermaid in the Basement, which, great books. I don't know that I would voluntarily pick these three over some of the ones that ended up down there, like the Nadine Brandes or like Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle or Hind's Feet on High Places, you know. So it's a very curious way to find the top books of the year. I'm very amused by all three Lord of the Rings books making it. It's funny, but accurate. And then these other three books. So kind of a top four, top three, top six, whatever. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Watch the rest of the book battle playlist if you would like more of this kind of content, and I'm going to be continuing to do this every year, so enjoy. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you in whatever comes next. Bye!